Hello.
I was totally speeding, I know I was.
Yeah, hi, I'm
so
Sergeant
sorry.
Bowden with the Colorado State Patrol.
So it was about 5:37 p.m. when a Colorado State Patrol officer noticed an SUV just speeding towards him. So he popped a U-ey and he stopped a woman, Mallory Morphew. Now, if that name doesn't sound familiar to you, let me give you a little bit of backstory. It was early in the morning on Sunday, May 10th, 2020, more than 5 years ago. Ironically, it was Mother's Day.
No? Okay. Alright, I will be issuing a citation this evening.
A man named Mallory Morphew claims he left his wife sleeping in their beautiful $1-point-something million home in Salida, Colorado. She was just snoozing, he claims. He left her. He had to go drive. He was in construction or landscaping, hardscaping, softscaping, Lord knows what kind of scaping Barry's been doing. Hopefully not escaping now that he's out on bail, and his daughter was stopped the very next day he made bail.
For the excessive speed, bear with me, I'll back to you as fast as I can. I'll get your current address at that time, okay?
Anyway, way back in 2020, Barry claims he had some kind of landscaping job to do up in Broomfield, Colorado, build some wall or something that Sunday. That's why he had to leave his wife of more than 2 decades alone on Mother's Day. Now, their daughters at the time, pretty young girls, Macy Morphew, she was around 18 years old. Mallory Morphew, the oldest daughter, she was 21 years old. Now she's 26, and a lot has gone on in the past 5 years. Both of those daughters, Mallory and Macy, were off on a camping trip that weekend. Now, a lot of people giving them crap for not being home for Mother's Day weekend. However, if you think of all the stuff that was going on in 2020 and how much people really wanted to just get outdoors, get away from home, get away from wearing masks and everything, it kind of puts you in the frame of mind of what was going on. Mallory Morphew had his own little story to tell.
Where is it? Where's the bike?
Oh, it's right there.
Where was it?
It was like just right down here in this little embankment right here. So, sorry, check this, dude. We got the husband on scene here with me.
I'm here with my daughter. She's at Barry's
Oh,
house.
okay. All right, yeah, you can go down
Was it
there.
a crash?
I mean, the bike looked, the way it was laying, it kind of looked like it, but there's not really that much damage to the bike. That's the thing.
Lion?
Yeah, it was just like
Was
lying.
it no lion?
I didn't see anything that would
I didn't see anything, and they're not letting us go over the side
because we're getting a track
dogs. We're bringing dogs.
just right down in here.
Do you
Yeah.
know where my husband and son are?
They
Yeah.
probably went down to Puma.
Yeah,
down
so-
to the house. My house.
Okay.
And Bear, just I know this is tough right now. Do you mind if I just get your driver's license for our record stuff? Search and rescue's on their way. Hey Barry, and then I'll probably need your help to kind of tell me some of the trails that she frequents, so we can backtrack some of that stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Okay, the story was that Suzanne must have gotten up that Mother's Day and decided to do what she loved doing, going on a bike ride. That's because her staged bike was found at the bottom of a hill near their home, steep. But stuff didn't add up. Suzanne normally wouldn't have ridden her bike along that road and everything. Her husband Barry created this really stupid 26-second plea.
Suzanne, if anyone is out there that can hear this, that has you, please, we'll do whatever it takes to bring you back. We love you, we miss you, your girls need you. No questions asked. However much they want, I will do whatever it takes to get you back. Honey, I love you. I want you back so bad.
Whatever they want, I'll do whatever they want. Oh, Suzanne. You guys, we can probably recite it by heart by now. It took him about a week, but on May 17th, 2020, he came up with that little produced video. And we didn't see any kind of a plea from Suzanne's daughters at any point, really. From the beginning, plenty of suspicion fell on Barry, and since that time, more than 5 years later, Barry has been arrested for her murder, then released, having his murder charges dropped. All this controversy going on around his case. But thank our Maker in heaven, he's been rearrested and he will be forced to stand trial eventually. Even though he's out on bail now, he will have to ultimately stand trial for her murder. That is, if he doesn't come back in January of 2026 and enter some kind of guilty plea.
When donkeys fly, as Flo used to say.
That would be a big surprise in this case, considering Barry's hubris and the way he likes people to regard him. Well, throughout this 5-year plus wait for Suzanne to get her justice, her daughters have been largely silent, except for a few interviews where they have literally sat hand in hand with their dad, or even walked side by side with him to and from court.
Barry, how does it feel? Are you guys happy today?
These daughters get so much attention. First of all, they're gorgeous, they're beautiful, they look like their mom, and their dad too. I gotta give it to them. In this body cam video we're about to watch, at a certain angle, Mallory looks so much like her dad. But the general public has been baffled by these daughters, largely, by their response, by them sticking by their dad's side so much. It's truly a study in psychological responses. What would you do if one day your mom disappears, your dad is telling you he had nothing to do with it, and he's coming up with all these stories about how it might have been some crazy guy who snatched her, and your parents have been married for more than 2 decades, and maybe you know of a bit of trouble here and there, but you don't know the whole story. And you love your parents. Now, the general public expected these girls to be out there, speak out, beg for their mom to come home or their mom to be found or beg her captors or whatever, but they never did that. They never pretty much spoke out for Suzanne. That has made some of the general public angry at them, while others still, of course, regard them as the court regards them as victims. Even after their mother's remains were found and her bones contained this BAM combination of chemicals, that their dad, he was like the only private citizen in that area of Colorado to have access to it. Have they ever doubted him? Will they testify against him, in support of him? Will they be hostile witnesses? Will he really take it to trial? Let's keep going.
Okay, how long have you lived in Colorado?
Since 2017.
We're going to hear from Mallory Morphew. So it's not often that you get to hear the voices and see the faces of Barry and Suzanne's daughters. So we've only heard Mallory and Macy speak maybe a couple of times on some ABC News interviews, Good Morning America, Nightline, and they're literally sitting there. They're flanking their dad, often just really close and always pretty much staunchly defending him. In their answers, they don't, of course, ramble off at the mouth. They seem very closed off, like they've had a lot of media training. Their anger isn't on display. They learn how to contain themselves. We got a lot of head shaking and one-word answers, and we got a lot less in those interviews by the time the girls were all even more polished and ready for the media. We got a lot fewer answers there than we did in the court transcripts we went over years ago during Barry's pretrial hearings. There's a lot more that the girls, especially Macy, the youngest one, witnessed the bad dynamic between her parents' marriage.
Since 2017?
Yeah, I split my time though. I own a home in Indiana.
You own a home in Indiana? Okay.
So I split my time.
Well, now we at least get to see a little bit more of Mallory. And if you read her body language in this new video footage that I purchased from Colorado, you will see, to me, she seems a bit angry, but it's very controlled. You know, she's masking it with a nice girl smile and voice. Now, the tone of the 26-year-old, she's now 26, she has brown hair and blue eyes. Her tone is nice, but her body language to me says something kind of altogether different. Gone is the blonde hair that Mallory once sported, and really blonde hair of Macy. And might I say, I don't think we see Macy as often as we do Mallory. You know, Mallory was there front and center, as we'll see towards the end, at Barry's most recent court hearing, November 3rd. She was right there, just walking up at the end to where Barry was sitting with his lawyers to that, it's not the witness box, but it's the table where Barry was sitting with his lawyers when it was all over. Mallory is right there handing him his sunglasses, like his girl Friday or something. It's strange. You see Mallory, but you don't often see Macy as much. I wonder if she has other things to do, or is Mallory really, of course, taking on her role of the oldest sibling, trying to keep a family together after a devastating tragedy. So maybe Mallory wears her hair darker now to avoid being recognized as much. And now Mallory being stopped one day after Barry made bail. At one point, I believe I saw her glance down at the body cam. She probably knew, oh boy, I'll be on body cam video footage for all the world to see. Once some YouTuber who's been following this case for more than 5 years will purchase that body cam video footage and put it on YouTube. Well, let me tell you this. These girls I know are victims. I've had to do a lot of redacting because they just gave it to me raw, like everything. So I'm not going to dox her. I blocked all of her address, number. I, dropped the audio when she's saying private things. So you're just going to see the no commentary version still redacted on Patreon. But if there's any content creators out there who want the raw video footage, message me on Patreon. We'll figure something out. But I'm not going to dox these girls. But here's how I found this body cam footage. You gotta love Reddit. So I saw a thread, a comment in the Suzanne Morphew community, great community over there, I'm linking to it below. Someone had asked, does anyone know what Barry Jr. did? And I was thinking to myself, wait a minute, does Barry have a son? Barry Morphew doesn't have a son that I don't know about, does he? No, he doesn't, not that I'm aware of. But they were referring to Mallory, the oldest child of Barry and Suzanne. She's so much like him. And there was a screenshot of Mallory's November court hearing. And so I was like, So somebody likely found Mallory's name in the court docket when they were searching for Morphew, maybe looking for Barry's next court hearing. After all, we've been waiting so long for the big trial, the people of the state of Colorado versus Barry Morphew. And that's the only name he's supposed to be going by these days. A grand jury indicted him. He must stand trial for first-degree murder, a felony 1 murder if, again, he takes it all the way. Knowing him, he probably will. So it was on or about May 9th or May 10th. Something might have happened to Suzanne as early as Mother's Day Eve, that Saturday, not really that Sunday morning when Barry claims he just left her snoozing right there in their marital bed, as if everything was so blissful, as if they had the perfect night as he told people. But on or about those days, it says in or triable in the state of Colorado, Barry Morphew unlawfully, feloniously, after deliberation and with the intent to cause the death of a person other than himself, caused the death of Suzanne Morphew. That's what he's charged with. So he's been indicted, again, more than 3 years after his first murder case was dismissed.
Okay.
Mallory, Macy?
No, they don't want to say anything. Douglas?
Okay, so unlike Barry's big trial that we're waiting on, Mallory's in-person court hearing turned out to be just an arraignment for her traffic ticket. But still, the video footage gives us insight. This body cam gives us insight into the mind of the daughter who once wrote on social media, "My dad is my hero," before she deleted it. Mallory had declared if she didn't find a man like her dad, I'll have to look up that old video. Maybe we can live stream it and chat about this new body cam and the old stuff too. But Mallory was like, if I don't find a guy like my dad, a bear hunting, strangling, whatever she called him. Obviously, she has a lot of love for her dad. If she didn't find a man like him, that man wouldn't be worth marrying. So she obviously feels a lot of love and affection and admires her dad. Mallory's hearing for her traffic ticket was held 9 a.m. It was one day after Barry's November 3rd hearing, which we'll watch at the end. But unfortunately, I found out Mallory was in court. I was like, oh my goodness, did I make the time? No, I found out about it, I don't know, maybe East Coast time. It might have been 2 p.m. So I totally missed her hearing, and I was thinking, I could have watched it, but I probably could not have recorded it. Oh my goodness, there's been so much controversy, if you remember, surrounding any recording or live streaming of these Morphew hearings lately. You can see my old video about that, which it's still hurtful because I was thinking, oh my goodness, this trial. If he takes it to trial, we won't get to watch unless the judge changes her mind. Again, she left it open, potentially. Pray in Jesus she turns that WebEx back on so we can all watch it. But anyway, Barry was in court for his brief hearing. We'll watch that at the end. But Barry's lawyer is going to talk about the voluminous amounts of discovery, and that to have an arraignment at that point was premature. He wanted to push things back to Monday, January 12th, 2026 at 1:30 p.m. The judge agreed with the defense's okay, but she's like, look, basically this is the last time we're pushing this arraignment back. I mean, my goodness, how long does an arraignment take? Some people who are arrested, on a Friday, they're arraigned by Monday or even earlier, some cases. But Barry, of course, Barry's going to Barry, so we won't get to hear his plea until January. And the state did say, though, we're still hopeful to try this case in the summer. So summer 2026, maybe we'll see Barry's trial. The judge did say, look, I expect you to enter a plea January 12th. Barry, she didn't say it like that, but she said, even if the plea is not guilty, I expect a plea. So then the lawyers were asked to approach. The judge is like, yes, let me end this WebEx first. And who do we see approaching Barry as the hearing ends? On the pool, legally recorded video, I feel like I always have to say, the pool reporter, the pool videographer got this footage. They got approval from the judge. It's fine for that person to video this hearing. But who approaches Barry as the hearing ends? It's Mallory, of course. So she's handing her dad, it looks like sunglasses. She's smiling. She's just there. I mean, I give it to her. She's a very pretty girl externally, and I feel for these girls like maybe they're just confused and manipulated, as her own uncle said in his victim's impact statement. But let's talk about this body cam video. Mallory Morphew is speeding, and she kind of has a Freudian slip when she talks about the homes she owns.
Boncher says 221075.
Yes, 22. Go ahead, sir.
Southbound Highway 135, Post 16, Edward Frank George Robert 25, Colorado, on a gray Bronco. Hello.
I was totally speeding. I know I was.
Yeah, hi, I'm
so
Sergeant
sorry.
Bowden with the Colorado State Patrol. The reason why I stopped you were at 82 miles an hour. This is a posted 55 mile per hour zone. You're 27 miles an hour over the posted speed limit.
Understood.
Any reason for your speed tonight?
No, I'm just going to see family in Denver, and I was
Okay.
trying to make it there before
Okay.
too late.
Okay, hold on to that. Okay. Let's see here. So you live at... No? Okay. Alright, I will be issuing a citation this evening for the excessive speed. Bear with me, I'll back to you as fast as I can. I'll get your current address at that time, okay? Uh-huh.
Two months ago, Mallory Morphew, on September 20th, she was speeding through Gunnison, Colorado. She's, tooling away in her 2024 gray Ford Bronco Sport, which is worth about, $32,000 or more. So, she's not doing badly. They're getting money from somewhere. Let's talk about this property, everything. Mallory, as soon as the officer's walking up to her SUV, she's like, "Hello, I was totally speeding. I know I was. I'm so sorry." So she is practically like sing-songing her way before even Colorado State Patrol Sergeant Joshua Bowden, before he even makes it up to her driver's side window. She's let her window down and he said hello. But we see him do the standard touching of the back of the vehicle, like many officers do in order to leave their DNA, their fingerprints on whatever car they're stopping to prove, look, I was indeed here. No matter what pops off, I was here. My DNA is on this vehicle. So Bowden, no doubt, he was following the letter of the law, the spirit of the law, because he's had some traumatic stops before. Back on November 22nd, 2018, this officer Bowden responded to a DUI accident and it turned fatal. It ended up with him firing 3 shots into this suspect who just went off the rails. Would-be victims were saved. It sounded like a harrowing type of case, but he was cleared in that case, so he's fine. But I could see why he's kind of a no-nonsense person approaching Mallory's car the way he did. It's now nearly 7 years after all that incident Bowden went through. It's September 20th, 2025. It's around 5:37 p.m. Bowden is face-to-face with a woman he might not even realize. She's famous in the true crime world, but Bowden does jump right in. He introduces himself. He's a no-nonsense type of man. He's not rude or mean or anything. He's just, just the facts, ma'am. He's straight to the point. So Mallory immediately hands over her Colorado vehicle registration. She knows the drill about court stuff, police officers. We get to see that throughout this body cam video. But instead of Mallory handing over a Colorado driver's license, she gives him her Indiana license. So Mallory did immediately admit she was speeding after Bowden tells her, look, you were going 27 miles faster than the posted speed limit of 55 miles per hour throughout here. He's like, any reason for your speed tonight? Like, is there emergency? Basically, he's like, are you headed to a hospital? What's going on? Mallory says, no, I was just going to see family in Denver. I was trying to make it there before too late. I was like, oh. So I'm digging so deeply into this footage, this case, of course, as usual. According to the longitude and latitude of where Mallory was stopped in Gunnison County, Mallory was about a 4 hours drive away from Denver. So, of course, I'm like mapping it out, like who could be in Denver? Isn't it ironic to see like Broomfield right on the map where Barry claimed he had that job, that pivotal Mother's Day that Suzanne disappeared? Barry isn't in the car with Mallory, like some people were wondering aloud. Once they learned about this traffic stop, no one's in the car, it appears, with Mallory. However, the day before this stop, some pivotal things happened. Now, Barry's lawyer filed that crazy motion we went over. He filed it on September 19th, 2025, his infamous unopposed motion to cease unmonitored live stream of court proceedings, that D009 motion, the one that called out the various YouTubers for live streaming Barry's court hearings. I'll link to it below too. That motion was controversial. It had a ripple impact throughout YouTube and people still being angry. It caused the judge to shut down her WebEx live streaming basically for the general public. So if most of us can't watch these hearings, the WebEx is shut down, we have to just wait and search for, okay, who's the pool photographer and videographer? What footage did they get? Can we watch that? What's even more pivotal, according to 9 News Investigates, it was just the day before Mallory got stopped, Friday, September 19th, 2025, that Barry was set free from jail early that Friday afternoon after posting his surety on his $3 million bail. So I was asking myself, is that where Mallory may have been racing? I don't know where Barry lives, but was Mallory racing to see family in Denver? Was that family Barry? Now, according to the Denver Gazette, Barry was in jail, we know, on the murder charges. He had bonded out of the Alamosa County Jail that Friday. After, making his bail, he got his GPS ankle monitor. It took some time. Stuff, had to be fitted. They had to come up with the money. According to Barry's attorney, David Beller, he had confirmed that night before, that Thursday night, that funds for the bond were paid by friends and supporters. I'm like, who the heck are his friends and supporters? I also pulled up Barry's bond document because I want to see the conditions. I was trying to verify if he lived in Denver. He can't leave the state. And I was like, is he in Denver? Is that who Mallory was racing off to that night? So his bond document indeed says he can't leave the state of Colorado, so he can't go escape to Indiana or Arizona. No weapons, no alcohol, no illegal drugs, and, quote, he's not to leave home except medical emergency, doctor's appointment, legal stuff, or work. And I'm thinking, would you hire him for your landscaping needs right now? Maybe some people are. It also says use only name Barry Morphew. That's because Mr. Morphew was like, oh, I'm Lee Morphew, or I'm this or that. He was kind of just making up names, aliases to go by. Perhaps Barry wanted to take advantage of the fact that a lot of people might not follow true crime, and maybe he met people in Arizona or whatever who never heard of him. Anyway, his bond document also says only drive vehicles registered in that name. So he's not supposed to be driving anything else. Good thing he wasn't stopped driving Mallory's car if it's registered in her name. Barry signed that bond document using his old Buck Drive address in Indiana. Now, I noticed that address comes up often. It shows up on some of Mallory's stuff. Why didn't Barry use a Colorado address? And why didn't Mallory, in certain instances, why didn't Mallory? Are they hiding from the media? Do they not want the media trying to catch them for an interview? And I'm thinking to myself, is Mallory the biggest friend and supporter that Barry has right now? Or are there other people who are just coughing up part of that $300,000 likely it was he had to come up with to get out of jail? So Barry had been in custody since June 20th, 2025, after he was indicted by that 12th Judicial District Grand Jury. He was arrested in Gilbert, Arizona. I wish I tried to get this body cam. I think they denied me, or I'd have to look. It's so many. But he was arrested in Gilbert, Arizona during a traffic stop by the Arizona Department of Public Safety. And for months, he'd been living under that alias Lee Moore. And it's crazy the way his lawyer tried to argue, like, oh, well, his middle name is Lee. Well, yeah. Well, then, I could see if he was going by Lee Morphew, which he may have. But where does the Moore come from? M-O-O-R-E. It's almost like Mormon, like M-O-O-R-M-A-N, Suzanne's maiden name. But no, he was using Lee Moore. They're like, wait, Moore isn't his name. So it was exactly 3 months after Barry's arrest that Mallory was stopped by this officer. And she certainly didn't name drop, any names during her traffic stop. And if Bowden did recognize that Morphew name, which I'm sure is pretty famous in Colorado, he didn't let on that he knew who she was or anything. But Barry's still out of custody. He's subject to that electronic monitoring, which I hope really works. I mean, his ex-brother-in-law, or Suzanne's oldest brother, in that victim's impact statement that seemingly was largely ignored because he was warning, please don't let this man out. You know, he has obviously means and motive to run away and not stand trial. But anyway, he was let out anyway. People waiting for Suzanne's justice, they were certainly upset that a judge modified Barry's $3 million cash-only bail. So there was a hearing September 2nd, and Judge Amanda Hopkins, the same one who cut the WebEx, we talked a lot about her in a previous video, how, fearful she was made when the Barry's lawyer showed her all these live stream comments that some, especially one I think was really misinterpreted, but anyway, she cut the WebEx feed. She's the same judge who refused to lower the amount of Barry's bail from $3 million, but said, okay, you can use a surety, that's the official name for a bondsman. Use a bondsman to post it. So in essence, I guess it's giving a guy like Barry a get out of jail free card because he's always coming up with money. I wonder how long that'll last. But if he had to come up with 10%, then, usually it's 10%. I guess sometimes it's 15%, but the standard's 10%. So Barry would have had to come up with $300,000. So how did Barry come up with this money? It seems to me that Mallory, his oldest daughter, has taken on some huge, helpful roles in his life in the past few years. I mean, she's been through a lot. She's had to grow up quickly. Talk about a patriot, I was thinking, talking about patriotism. She was born on July 4th, 1999. So she was only 21 when her mom went missing. So if that isn't bad enough, it's like her mom goes missing. She's only 21. Early 20s, you're usually still thinking about yourself and not these types of things. But in the past 5 years, she's had to really become an adult. Now, the address listed on her incident details from this most recent traffic stop is also the Buck Drive house, Barry's listed on stuff, in Noblesville, Indiana. And guess who's the deeded owner of that home? Mallory A. Morphew. So in fact, all public records, but I still won't name their address, the Hamilton County, Indiana records show that on April 22nd, 2025, my birthday and Earth Day, by the way, Mallory A. Morphew paid $3,203.54 for property taxes on that home. So she is the deeded owner to that home. She's keeping up with the property taxes. Like, good on her for being this responsible. She's keeping everything together, it seems. She's like the glue, as her dad has gone in and out of jail these past few years and in the wake of her own loss of her mother. And I've got to say, I understand why some people are so livid because they expected, I think, a reaction from these girls. They wanted to see, I guess, the girls cut their dad off and say, how dare you? What did you do to our mom? And not help him and not be by his side, smiling. But I understand that everyone's reaction in the wake of tragedy isn't the same, and some people are easily blindsided by love and fear and denial and family, so who knows what Mallory and Macy have been told. So the ownership of this particular home, that Buck Drive home, was transferred on August 7th, 2024, just last year, from Barry to Mallory's name by quitclaim deed. And it sits on nearly 1/4 of an acre in Harbor Woods. And the total assessed value of the land and improvements, which that's the sum of the land and all permanent structures and enhancements on it, is $302,000. So I'm asking myself, will we see that property go up for sale before long? Will Barry need more money for his defense? It's confusing. Previously, he had a certain firm, high-paid lawyers, okay, they did their job, whatever. And now, this new lawyer, it's a little bit confusing. There was a line about him being offered public defenders. The public defenders had some kind of conflict with Barry, so he has these other private lawyers, but I'm not sure if they're appointed in a public defender capacity. So it's kind of hard to know how much he might be paying these lawyers, if anything. So how much money will Barry need to live, to exist throughout the trials? What if his business isn't doing much at all? What if no one wants to hire him as a landscaper, have him near their home with tools? I wouldn't blame them. Ironically, this Buck Drive address is the same home address used for the Suzanne R. Morphew Hope Foundation, Inc. Now it has this infuriating description online. Mission statement of the Suzanne R. Morphew Hope Foundation, Inc. Now it sounds like a lovely foundation Suzanne likely launched years ago because you see certain amounts of donations coming in and then stopping. But it says the Suzanne R. Morphew Hope Foundation, spearheaded by Barry L. Morphew, that's the part that's infuriating, is committed to addressing the needs of children in diverse global locations. Well, that's great if it's true. It's probably what Suzanne did from her heart. This nonprofit organization demonstrates the love of Jesus Christ in a tangible manner, aiming to address recognized needs within these communities. The foundation's mission is to show compassion and provide assistance to children, thereby making a significant impact in their lives. That's wonderful. Probably Suzanne's heart, and I don't know exactly what she did with the foundation, but sounds beautiful. But now let's transition to Mallory talking about the homes, plural, she owns. No wonder she slipped and said she own a homes before correcting herself. Bowden is asking if Mallory lives at a certain address in Gunnison.
No? Okay. All right, I will be issuing a citation this evening.
I don't know if he saw that address on her registration or something. But Mallory, she's speaking really lowly. I had to listen several times, but she says she recently moved. So of course I won't reveal that address, even though she doesn't live there anymore. I redacted that address, but it was a 1-bedroom, 337 square foot little condo. It recently sold, note this, it recently sold August 11th, 2025 for $170,000. So I was thinking, did Mallory sell that to raise money for Barry's bail? There's so much money in investment properties with this family. There's properties everywhere. But the condo itself certainly looks like Barry's style, with an animal head mounted on that bedroom/great room, or efficiencies wall, whatever the heck it is. It looks like a small, very compact 337 square foot condo, but I'm not sure if Mallory made a profit selling that little condo, enough to put towards Barry's bail perhaps. It's beautiful, but it is a long way from the Puma Path home in Salida that Suzanne went missing from in 2020. Now that was sold in 2021. 1 year after Suzanne disappeared, it was sold for $1.63 million. Another thing that really angered people, because remember that video I made about Suzanne saying that she had put $500,000 of her inheritance, $500,000 at least, into that home. Suzanne and her family, her side, they were no slouches. I guess her dad, Gene, had a really popular root beer hot dog stand or something, or restaurant back in Indiana. I believe it was Suzanne's grandma who had passed on money to her mom, and they had passed on earnings to her, and she had her own earnings. You know, she put them into the Salida home as well. And now I'm like, are those earnings being used to defend her alleged murderer? It won't work. I mean, God sees all. We will see. Barry is innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. I treat these girls very gently in my reporting. I don't want the lawyer, coming out with another motion claiming people are threatening the girls, or they're, doxing the girls, or all these things which he alleged. That's why I'm very extra careful here. But someone did make a comment years ago that Macy looked like she had no idea if her dad could really be culpable. They were studying her behavior in the interviews. But this person was of the opinion, I read a comment on one of my videos, that Mallory knew exactly what Barry was capable of and was afraid of him. So I don't think we explore that option enough. People think Mallory's all tough and big and bold, and she's just a little Barry Jr., and she's just like him, and all this stuff, and, her angst and her ire and fire and all of that comes from her, just defending her dad or being on her dad's side. And believe me, I've read a lot worse comments and accusations just all across the web. I'm not going to speak that way or accuse them of anything untoward. I was just thinking, what if Barry's daughters just deeply love him, their dad, as many daughters do? What if they're confused? What if they're also afraid of him? Maybe that's why they haven't spoken out so boldly for Suzanne in a way that, many members of the public wanted them to come out and support their mom, and as an 18 and 21-year-old be all over the news and say, please find my mom. And yeah, maybe that would have really helped find Suzanne earlier. Who knows? Maybe that would have endangered them. Heck, even Suzanne's oldest brother again called the girls manipulated in that recent impact statement. It was great that we read. So I do give them a break because I don't know what they're literally experiencing. What if initially they believed Barry and Barry scared them, thinking, oh my goodness, someone came into this house, someone took your mom, they'll take you next. Or what if internally either one of the girls or both at any time, especially after Suzanne's remains were found, thought, oh no, they found Bam and her remains. Sounds like something Dad has. And are they telling themselves still, no, it could never be Dad. It could never be Dad. And I get that because, for example, think of your own parents. Think of your own father. And maybe your father truly would never really do this, but just put yourself in their mindset, in their mind state. Maybe they're thinking, yeah, he never really did this. Or what if they just allow for 1%, 1 minute of one day to say, what if Daddy did do this? How will they come out boldly against their own dad? Would they fear him quieting them in the way that Barry allegedly quieted Suzanne when she stood up? I mean, it was the point of, who knows, maybe he caught her on WhatsApp with her affair partner, Jeff Libler. Maybe he caught her in the act of doing something and his rage came out and that's what he did, or he heard her say something, or he knew Suzanne was preparing to leave him, whatever it was. But at the moment when a person, a victim, takes a stand is often the time that confrontation is the dangerous time. Maybe that's what the girls have felt. I don't know. That's why I give them so much grace.
All right, I appreciate your patience, hon. There's your information back right there, okay? How long have you lived in Colorado?
Since 2017.
Since 2017?
Yeah, I split my time though. I own a home in Indiana.
You own a home in Indiana? Okay.
So I split my time.
Okay, perfect. Thanks for explaining that.
Yeah, you're
So I was going to
welcome.
tell you that you need to get a Colorado license.
Yeah.
All right, let me get your home address.
Yes. And that's Gunnison.
Okay. Sorry, my nose is running today. Allergies are killing me. All right, good phone number for you? Okay, this right here is a summons issued by the Colorado State Patrol. The incident information is here at the top. Driver vehicle information in the next series of blocks. You're being cited for speeding 82 in a posted 55 mile per hour zone. It is a summons, which means you have to go to court. If you're found guilty, it does carry 6 points against your driving privilege in Colorado.
Okay.
Your summons to appear at Gunnison County Court, 200 East Virginia Avenue in Gunnison, Colorado on November 4th, 2025 at 9 o'clock in the morning for your first appearance. Okay?
Yeah.
So I need your signature right there. By signing there, you're not admitting to guilt, just stating you understand you need to go to court.
Perfect. Right? So I can't just pay and not do it?
No, you're going to have to go to court, but at that appearance, they're going to advise you of the charge, advise you of your rights, and at that time, they may even offer you a plea agreement or something like that, because the DA's office usually is there for summonses and stuff like that. So talk to them, see what happens from there, okay? No promises or anything like that, but questions for me?
No questions.
Be careful pulling out. Have a safe trip, safe
Thank
night.
you.
That's 28. That's right down in one Montrose. Suffering clear valid adult 92 out of Durango, and that plate did come back clear valid on a 2005 pilot, expiring 4/26. That's 30.
Montrose says 22, Clown Cat.
That is 22. Thank you, sir. 649. 649. There. 1850.
But back to the traffic stop. Bowden does say he will be issuing a citation. I'm like, good on him. He didn't just say, oh, okay, sweet little darling, you can get away with just a warning, But he does say, bear with me. I'm going to go back to the car. I will get your current address then. So Bowden does sound frustrated once he gets back into the car, and I've sped that part up, but he's writing up the ticket. He's sniffing. I think the computer is moving slowly. He leaves Miss Mallory waiting for a full 8 minutes. I'm like, even more time for her to stew and seethe. If she's already racing, going 80 something in a 55, she's already like, I want to get to where I'm going. So he asked her when he comes back, how long have you lived in Colorado? And Mallory, she's grimacing. It's like a pained smile she's giving him. Like she's trying to say, oh, that's okay, no problem. You had me waiting and smiling, but I don't know, I see something beneath it. So she says, since 2017, she's lived out in Colorado, and she says, I split my time. I own a homes, and she corrects herself, I own a home in Indiana. So indeed, she has to explain this because it's kind of like, wait a minute, why do you have like an Indiana driver's license and Colorado registration, kind of like you've been here for 8 years and you never thought to get like a Colorado driver's license? And I don't know how that works if you split your time, like where do you live the most? Which state should you have your driver's license in? But indeed, Suzanne and Barry did meet each other and marry in Alexandria, Indiana. And then by 2018, they moved out to Colorado, where Mallory was already attending Western State University in Gunnison. So I wonder what her major was. And I'm assuming she graduated. I don't even know these things. And is she able to have gainful employment? That's another thing I feel sorry about when a person is connected to someone accused of a crime. Like Brian Koberger's parents or his sisters, we hear that his sisters lost their jobs. And that's just horrible that people just associate it with someone accused of a crime or eventually convicted of a crime. In Brian Koberger's case and Lord Willing in Barry's case, it's like they get the brunt of what someone else in their family might have done. I never thought that was fair. Anyway, it is an interesting slip that Mallory talks about these homes she owns. I'm wondering how many properties exactly have been put in Mallory's name. But Bowden is like, thanks for explaining that. And she's like, yeah, you're welcome. He's like, because I was going to tell you, you need to get a Colorado license. And I'm thinking, doesn't Mallory have a Colorado license by now? But maybe not. Okay, here's the point. He says, let me get your home address. So she gives him this other address in Gunnison. Again, redacted. I've redacted it. I noticed it's an apartment with 1 bedroom, 1 bathroom. It's 620 square feet. Nothing really to write home about. And I'm like, wow, She went from this condo, which she sold, now she's in an apartment. Even though it's like larger, I guess, in square footage, it seemed like the condo may have been nicer. Is Mallory jumping through all these hoops to try and keep the ball rolling, to try and keep up with all of Barry's needs? I could see why she would do it too. It makes sense because how your parents, I don't know if he's guilt tripping her, if she's doing it herself. We'll get more into her psychology in a bit. How your parents do sacrifice, generally good parents, sacrifice, they make choices for their children so their children can, blossom and fly out of the nest. But now that Barry is in all this trouble, does Mallory look back like, this is the only parent I have left? He raised me, my mom raised me, my mom's not here anymore. Does she feel any, I don't want to say get back or any hurt from learning about her mom's affair? I'm sure Barry used that to the hilt. You can tell in his interviews, just in what we've read, some of them we still don't have. I wish they would just give them to me, the videos, after he's convicted. But he talked about, oh yeah, I'm sure the girls, he said they were so disappointed in learning about their mom's affair. I'm sure he used that to the hilt. Now, Suzanne accused Barry of having affairs, adulterous affairs of his own, but I'm sure, for Barry, all of that was like, oh no, that's crazy talk. No, Suzanne was just nuts. She thought I was talking in my hand because we were making love and I said, I want to get you pregnant, and she thought I was talking to someone else. It's craziness. We should go over some of that stuff again, since it's been years since we've gone over it. But I'm wondering too if Mallory feels a whole bunch of guilt, and it's something that Suzanne had told her friend. Indeed, she felt responsible for Barry's happiness. So imagine how much more she feels responsible for him now. Which, she shouldn't. I admire a child who sticks by their parent. That part I admire. Mallory's not like, oh, you raised me, you did whatever. Okay, whatever, bye. I'm leaving you in the lurch. People would forgive Mallory for doing that in this situation. I feel like she's being manipulated, and Barry has likely had 5 or 6 years almost to just dog out Suzanne to her daughters and say, look what your mom was doing over there with that guy Jeff, and I've been here, and blah, blah, blah. You know the drill. Hopefully the scales will fall from everyone's eyes eventually. But anyway, Bowden, he's apologizing. He's like, sorry, my nose is running today. The allergies are killing me. He's sniffing, and Mallory seems to try to be compassionate, but it's hard to hear her. She's giving him a phone number, and it's the same phone number that is on the Barry Lee Morphew recent booking sheet. Maybe they share a cell phone number, or maybe they're just trying to confuse, so people can't know whose number is what, who lives where. Mallory, she looks pleasant enough. She really does. But I'm thinking to myself, she's probably seething inside. She's like, oh, she's looking out the front window, and she's probably like, dang it, why am I getting stopped? So he gives her a summons for November 4th, 2025, and he says something like, oh, you can possibly get a plea deal, no promises, since the DA will be there. And Mallory, she asks a pivotal question, which is very normal too. So I can't just pay and not do it? She didn't want to go to court. She knows because eyeballs are on her. This isn't just like traffic court for, like Drake says. Drake says that line from Aaliyah, basically, I got to watch my back because I'm just not anybody. So, like they say, kind of famous or infamous or whomever they are, people who are well known in the public, sort of, they move differently. So she asks, so I just can't pay and not do it? She doesn't want to go to court. She's like, money, kind of like Barry, money is the answer, And it's like, nope. And then Officer Bowden is like, any questions for me? And she's like, no questions. So he tells her to be safe, pulling out, have a safe night. And so she's putting on her blinkers or whatever, and she pulled over relatively quickly. She was aware, she knew she was caught, and then eventually she drives off to her destination. So I'm thinking, Was she driving off to see Barry somewhere, visit him? I don't know. But Mallory is a key player. She always has been. Mallory is just like her dad. That's what Barry's mom, Shirley, had written on Instagram way back on August 26, 2013. So what Mallory was only like 14 years old back then, but it shows her, and I probably won't show it because I don't like these hunting photos, but it shows Mallory holding up the head of like a deceased deer by the horns. And I was thinking, I guess truer words were never spoken. I pulled some lines from these transcripts I was like going over. And there was Commander Walker had a couple of follow-up questions regarding his direct testimony. Now it says, who was it that called the Ritters? Those were the neighbors of the Morphews. Who called them on May 10th? It was Mallory who called the neighbors. When they couldn't get in touch with Suzanne and Barry, was playing the nut roll. Where's your mom? I don't know. Mallory took the lead. She called their neighbors, the Ritters. I think one of the Ritters eventually went over there trying to look for Suzanne. But who was it that called 911? It was the Ritters. Did Barry Morphew ever call 911? According to the testimony, not that I'm aware of, no. Did he ever report his wife missing? No. Not to law enforcement. Now, even more telling are the court transcripts from Barry's first pretrial. It's like Suzanne speaking from the grave. It says Mallory feels like, and there's a text that states this, that Mallory sort of feels like she's responsible for Barry's happiness. And so there's different shapes to their struggles, and Suzanne feels that. A quote directly from Suzanne, he will make a scene and use the players. And the question came to her friend Sheila, who does Sheila know to be? What are the players? The players, again, this is where he's pulling the girls in. Mallory and Macy, yes. So these girls are victims, but they're also, I do believe, highly manipulated by their father. And the power of denial and manipulation is a very strong thing. We just can't poo-poo it. The grief of losing your mother at such a young age. And then to have your father give you this line about, oh, she probably just had an accident. Oh, and look, girls, I found out she was having an affair. Oh, Lord knows, she probably ran off with her boyfriend. You can imagine the type of things the girls were told. Maybe they were told Suzanne's probably still alive back then and she just ran off and she doesn't care about you guys and she left you, or who knows, their grief and confusion. So again, I'm not going to dox them. This video has been really, obscured to protect them. But I'm asking myself, how long will Barry be able to rely on his daughters to help him? And isn't it crazy that even before Suzanne's death, Mallory felt like she was responsible for Barry's happiness? Isn't that wild? She felt that way even when her parents were still together. Now, what made her feel that way? We know Suzanne, according to the court transcripts, spoke with her youngest daughter. Macy was home more, so, Mallory was off at college and she didn't know necessarily all the dynamics going on. I'm sure she knew some. Macy was speaking with her mom about, yes, the potential of divorce and getting a restraining order. So obviously they knew everything wasn't perfect, everything wasn't golden. But by the time they come out in the press, or, when it's time to get these little snippets of words, it's kind of like, oh, Barry told me him and Mom and Dad had a perfect night, the night before she disappeared. Well, of course, Barry would want to promulgate and perpetrate that lie. He's not going to say, oh yeah, I caught her on WhatsApp talking to her man and I chased her around the house and shot Bam into her bones or whatever. So how long will especially Mallory play this role of helping her dad? Maybe Mallory kind of knew, okay, my parents might be on the outs, before Suzanne died. Maybe they will divorce. And maybe Mallory was always, who knows, Barry's favorite, or how one child tends to, not that you love a parent more or a child more, but one child might click with their dad more, another might click with their mom more. I remember seeing all these old Instagram photos of Mallory going out west, even when she was way younger. That's how she knew, I believe, she wanted to go to college in Colorado. They'd go on these little hunting trips or whatever. So maybe she just really clicked with him. And if she thought, oh my goodness, my parents are going to split up, how's Dad going to make it without me? Or, she might have taken on the burden, that role of like a daughter protecting her dad, which is understandable and admirable if he weren't accused of murder. It all gets really confusing. But anyway, we'll see how this plays out. We will plan to see Old Bear again in the coming year. It's January 12th, 2026, his arraignment hearing. It's on the books now. I saw it on the docket for 1:30 p.m., duration 1 hour in Alamosa County Courtroom C. Now, what do you think his plea will be? Chances are dollars to donuts, 75% odds, I'll say, or probably a lot more. Barry will stand up there and say, not guilty. You know, he has like an O.J. Simpson kind of vibe. Absolutely 100% not guilty. He'll probably say some crap like that, knowing him.
Courtroom with his attorneys, Mr. Feller and Ms. Elson. Right, and the state is represented by Ms. Kelly and Mr. Johnson. There are also statutory victims present both in the courtroom and the virtual courtroom. Mr. Feller, what can we accomplish today?
Thank you, Your Honor. Your Honor, to give the court a bit of an update, the defense is continuing to make its way through the voluminous discovery. In addition to that, at the people's gracious invitation, we did meet with them earlier today to go through a series of discovery questions. The people have been very responsive to us, but nonetheless, that process is ongoing, and unfortunately, it is time-consuming. We set this matter today to check in with the court for a status. I am advising the court, I still think that arraignment, is perhaps a bit premature. So we are asking the court to set another status in comparing calendars. Should the court give us until roughly the middle of January, we do believe that that's probably a good time in which to revisit regarding the possibility of starting to schedule future hearings in this matter. While not obligatory by any means, the parties have at least compared calendars, and if the court's able to accommodate us on January the 12th, that's a Monday, at 1:30, it does work for all parties.
Right. Ms. Kelly, Mr. Johnson,
Yes, Your Honor, Mr. Beller is correct. We spoke today, we spoke about just our paralegals are assisting them with finding things within the discovery, and then also just about scheduling. So we have no objection to a continuance. We're still hopeful to try this case in the summer. And we told that to defense, and we say that again here, but we have no objection to continuing the arraignment out to January.
we'll set this on January the 12th at 1:30 p.m. That is a final continuance. I will expect a plea to be entered. It's fine if that plea is not guilty.
Understood.
All right. Mr. Morphew, make sure you stay in good contact with your attorneys, and I will see you here on January the 12th.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. And we will be in recess.
Thank you. Your Honor, may the parties approach briefly? And I don't believe
Yeah, let me end
Yes,
the
thank you.
WebEx meeting real quick, and yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
At his most recent status hearing, like we talked about, November 3rd, 1:30 p.m., they talked about all the discovery they have to go through. And the judge said, okay, fine, we can push it out to January, but that's it. Got to enter a plea, Mr. Morphew, not Mr. Moore. But even if that plea is not guilty, which I believe it will be, such a selfish man. Like, if he did this, I have to say if, kind of like O.J. Simpson's book title, If I Did It. Anyway, if Barry Morphew did this, and he knows he did it, will he drag his entire family through this long, drawn-out trial, making them go through all these machinations of getting more money, whatever's needed for his trial? The time, the focus, instead of just pleading guilty? Horrible. Anyway, let's close with Job 40, verse 2. Will the one who contends with the Almighty correct him? Let him who accuses God answer him. So Barry Morphew wears the facade of this holy Christian man who, he had his little buddy standing up for him on Facebook when this all shook down. I wonder how many are really still by his side. He had his little buddy claiming, oh, Barry, even when we went off to these camping trips and slept in a 2-man tent or whatever, Barry was reading the Bible and listening to the Bible, but he also listened to true crime podcasts and everything too. Barry, to me, I'm going to try and give this man some grace, but to me, it's the worst kind of Christian. It's the kind of alleged Christian. I don't know who's really a Christian or not, but he's the worst kind to me, that he spouts all this stuff, I don't know how to describe it, spouts all this annoying Peyton Place type spirit fake stuff, the facade of Christianity that, when you pull it back, it's really, really ugly, and it's nothing to do with Christ our Savior. It's lies and manipulation, and it's all about, can I put on a good guy persona, mask, pretending like he never ever cheated on Suzanne, and she was the one who planned to run off with this other guy, and oh, he's just the hurt one, and he's just full of lies. But anyway, I better stop there. Thanks for watching all this body cam video. Again, look at the links below. Let me know if you're a content creator or news organization needing the raw stuff, but I'm not going to publish these addresses or dox these girls or anything. Let's just see what happens with this trial, with this case, if we can get it going underway. They often take a lot of time, but I'm glad he's eventually probably going to stand trial, unless he lets the Lord really fall on him, tell the truth, shame the devil, as they say. If he really did something wrong and took Suzanne's life, just enter a guilty plea come January. Let all the discovery come out and just tell the truth about what you did. That's how I know a person, if they are in fact guilty, if they know they perpetrated the crime. That's how I know sometimes that God truly has touched them, because they will tell the truth. That's it, that verse, it says, to your own hurt, swear to your own hurt and change not. Sometimes it's difficult to do things, to make a promise and stick by that promise, like to tell the truth, forsaking all others and everything. But it's hard to tell the truth to your own hurt. So I get it. If Barry knows he's guilty, and if he says, yes, I'm guilty, then he knows he's getting locked away for a long time. I don't know. Do they have the DP in Colorado? I don't know. But he knows it would hurt him. Is he going to be the type of person who just stands there and says, no, 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 keeps lying and lying and lying until the day, like O.J. Simpson, he finally meets his maker, the ultimate judge, which we can't lie in front of. Like, we can lie all day in front of men and women. We can't lie in front of God, the Almighty. Like he said, who, will the one who contends with the Almighty correct him? Let him who accuses God answer him. We can have all these talk and manipulations and, smooth operator, and have all this charm and charisma for human beings who might fall for a Barry for the way he looks or his money or whatever he has, but it won't work in front of God. So let's see what happens with this case. Stranger things have happened. Who knows? Maybe Barry will enter a plea we don't expect. But stay tuned. Follow up on this case. Maybe I'll live stream some of my old Morphew videos that are not any longer on YouTube and I save them off different places. So maybe we can, I've been kind of freshening them up. Maybe we can talk about this Mallory body cam in a live chat if I don't premiere this one live, and then talk about some of the old transcripts. So let's see. Thanks so much for being here and watching. Take care.